Hi, welcome to The Sleepy Pillow. My name is Sarah. Main reason for starting this podcast is to collect my voice. I remember when I was younger, I used to love falling asleep to collections of old stories told by my mom, grandma, or simply from a cassette tape that my mom brought for me and my siblings to listen to. My mom isn't around anymore though, and I do miss her voice very much. Another reason for this podcast is that I'm also mom to a little boy. So I wanted to do something that my mom never got a chance to. I'm recording these podcasts to preserve my voice. I hope someday that he gets to hear these podcasts and through these remembers my voice for years to come, without having to force himself to remember my voice through just his memories, but gets to hear my actual voice. Maybe to relax, or perhaps to comfort him in the days when he might need it the most. I hope my voice can do the same for you too. So let's find a comfy place, close your eyes, and enjoy the stories. Korean Fairy Tales by William Elliott Griffith. The Unmannerly Tiger. Mountain Uncle was the name given by the villagers to a splendid striped tiger that lived among the highlands of Gangwon, the long province which from its cliffs overlooked the Sea of Japan. Hunters rarely saw him, and among his fellow tigers, the mountain uncle boasted that, though often fired at, he had never been wounded. While as for traps, he knew all about them and laughed at the devices used by man to catch him and to strip him of his coveted skin. In summer, he kept among the high hills and lived on fat deer. In winter, when heavy snow, biting winds, and terrible cold kept human beings within doors, old Mountain Uncle would sally forth to the villages. There, he would prowl around the stables, the cattle enclosures, or the pig pens, in hopes of clawing and dragging out a young donkey, a fat calf, or suckling pig. Too often he succeeded, so that he was the terror of the country for leagues around. One day in autumn, Mountain Uncle was rambling among the lower hills. Though far from any village, he kept a sharp lookout for traps and hunters, but none seemed to be near. He was very hungry and looked for game. But on coming around the great rock, Mountain Uncle suddenly saw in his path, some feet ahead, as he thought, a big tiger like himself. He stopped, twitched his tail almost ferociously as a challenge, showed fight by growling, and got ready to spring. What was to his surprise to see the other tiger doing exactly the same things. Mountain Uncle was sure there would be a terrible struggle, but this was what he wanted, for he expected to win. But after a tremendous leap in the air, he landed in a pit, and all of a heap, bruised and disappointed. There was no tiger to be seen, but instead a heavy lid of logs had closed over his head with a crash, and he lay in darkness. Old Mountain Uncle was caught at last. Yes, the hunter had concealed the pit with sticks and leaves, and on the upright timbers, covered with vines and brushwood, had hung a looking glass. Mountain Uncle had often beheld his own face and body in the water when he stooped to drink. But this time, not seeing any water, he was deceived into thinking a real tiger wanted to fight him. By and by, a Buddhist priest came along who believed in being kind to all living creatures. Hearing an animal moaning, he opened the trap and, lifting the lid, saw old mountain uncle at the bottom licking his bruised paw. "Oh, please, Mr. Man, let me get out. I'm hurt badly," said the tiger. Thereupon the priest lifted up one of the logs and slid it down until it rested on the bottom of the pit. Then the tiger climbed up and out. Old mountain uncle expressed his thanks volubly, saying to the shaven head, "I am deeply grateful to you, sir, for helping me out of my trouble. Nevertheless, as I am very hungry, I must eat you up." The priest, very much surprised and indignant, protested against such vile ingratitude. To say the least, it was very bad manners and entirely against the law of the mountains, and he appealed to a big tree to decide between them. The spirit in the tree spoke through the rustling leaves and declared that the man should go free, and the tiger was both ungrateful and unmannerly. Old mountain uncle was not satisfied yet, especially as the priest was unusually fat and would make a very good dinner. However, he allowed the man to appeal once more, and this time to a big rock. "The man is certainly right, venerable mountain uncle, and you are wholly wrong," said the spirit in the rock. "Your master, the mountain spirit, who rides on the green bull and the piebald horse to punish his enemies, will certainly chastise you if you devour this priest. You will be no fit messenger of the mountain lord if you are so ungrateful as to eat the man who saved you from starvation or death in the trap. It is shockingly bad manners even to think of such a thing." The tiger felt ashamed, but his eyes still glared with hunger. So, to be sure of saving his own skin, the priest proposed to make the toad a judge. The tiger agreed. But the toad, with his gold-rimmed eyes, looked very wise, and instead of answering quickly, as the tree and the rock did, deliberated a long time. The priest's heart sank while the tiger moved his jaws as if anticipating his feast. He felt sure that old Speckleback would decide in his favor. "I must go and see the trap before I can make up my mind," said the toad, who looked as solemn as a magistrate. So all three leaped, hopped, or walked to the trap. The tiger, moving fast, was there first, which was just what the toad, who was a friend of the priest, wanted. Besides, old Speckleback was diligently looking for a crack in the rocks nearby. So while the toad and the tiger were studying the matter, the priest ran off and saved himself within the monastery gates. When at last old Speckleback decided against Mountain Uncle and in favor of the man, he had no sooner finished his judgment than he hopped into the rock crevice and, crawling far inside, defied the tiger, calling him an unmannerly brute and an ungrateful beast, and daring him to do his worst. old mountain uncle was so mad with rage and hunger that his craftiness seemed turned into stupidity. He clawed at the rock to get at the toad, but Speckleback, safe within, only laughed. Unable to do any harm, the tiger flew into a passion of rage. The hotter his temper grew, the more he lost his wit. Poking his nose inside the crack, he rubbed so hard on the rough rock that he soon bled to death. When the hunter came along, he marveled at what he saw, but he was glad to get rich by selling the tiger's fur, bones, and claws. For in Korea, nothing sells so well as a tiger. As for the toad, he told to several generations of his descendants the story of how he outwitted the old mountain uncle. Tokgabi and His Pranks. Tokgabi is the most mischievous sprite in all Korean fairyland. He does not like the sunshine or outdoors, and no one ever saw him on the streets. He lives in the sooty flues that run under the floors along the whole length of the house, from the kitchen at one end of it to the chimney hole in the ground at the other end. He delights in the smoke and the smut, and does not mind fire or flame, for he likes to be where it is warm. He has no lungs, and his skin and eyes are both fireproof. He is as black as night and loves nothing that has white in it. He is always afraid of a bit of silver, even if it be only a hairpin. Tokgabi likes most to play at night in the little loft over the fireplace, to run along the rafters and knock down the dust and cobwebs is his delight. His favorite game is to make the iron rice pot lid dance up and down so that it tumbles inside the rice kettle and cannot easily be got out again. Oh, how many times the cook burns, scalds, or steams her fingers in attempting to fish out that pot lid when Tokgabi has pushed it in. How she does bless the sooty imp. But Tokgabi is not always mischievous, and most of his capers hurt nobody. He is such a merry fellow that he keeps continually busy, whether people cry or laugh. He does not mean to give anyone trouble, but he must have fun every minute, especially at night. When the fire is out, how he does chase the mice up and down the flues under the floor, and up in the garret over the rafters. When the mousies lie dead on their backs, with their toes turned upward, the street boys take them outdoors and throw them up in the air. Before the mice fall to the ground, the hawks swoop down and eat them up. Many a bird of prey gets his breakfast in this way. Although Tokgabi plays so many pranks, he is kind to the kitchen maids. When after a hard day's work, one is so tired out that she falls asleep, he helps her to do her hard tasks. Tokgabi washes their dishes and cleans their tables for good servants. So when they wake up, the girls find their work done for them. Many a fairy tale is told about this jolly sprite's doings, how he gives good things to the really nice people and makes the bad ones mad by spitefully using them. They do say that the king of all the Tokkabis has a museum of curiosities and a storehouse full of gold and gems and fine clothes and everything sweet to eat for good boys and girls and for old people that are kind to the birds and dumb animals. For bad folks, he has all sorts of things that are ugly and troublesome. He punishes stingy people by making them poor and miserable. The Tokgabi king also has a menagerie of animals. These he sends to do his errands, rewarding the good and punishing naughty folks. Every year, the little almanac with the red and green covers tells in what quarter of the skies the Tokgabi king lives for that year, so that the farmers and country people will keep out of his way and not provoke him. In his menagerie, the kind creatures that help human beings are the dragon, bear, tortoise, frog, dog, and rabbit. These are all man's friends. The cruel and treacherous creatures in Tokgabi's menagerie are the tiger, wild boar, leopard, serpent, toad, and cat. These are the messengers of the Tokgabi king to do his bidding when he punishes naughty folks. The common everyday Tokgabi plays fewer tricks on the men and boys and enjoys himself more in bothering the girls and women. This, I suppose, is because they spend more time in the house than their fathers or brothers. In the land of Ratatat, where the sound of beating the washed clothes never ceases, Tokgabi loves to get a hold of the women's laundry sticks, which are used for pounding and polishing the starched clothes. He hides them so that they cannot be found. Then Daddy makes a fuss because his long white coat has to go without his usual gloss. But it is all Tokgabi's fault. Tokgabi does not like starch because it is white. He loves to dance on Daddy's big black hat case that hangs on the wall. Sometimes he wiggles the fetish or the household idol that is suspended from the rafters. But most of all, he enjoys dancing a jig among the dishes in the closet over the fireplace, making them rattle and often tumble down with the crash. Tokgabi likes to bother men sometimes too. If Daddy should get his top knot caught in the rat hole, or his head should slip off his wooden pillow at night and he bump his nose, it is all Tokgabi's fault. When anything happens to a boy's long braid of hair that hangs down his back and makes him look so much like a girl, Tokgabi is blamed for it. It is even said that naughty men make compacts with Tokgabi to do bad things, but the imp only helps the man for the fun of it. Tokgabi cares nothing about what mortal men call right or wrong. It is only after fun and is up to mischief all the time, so one must watch out for it. The kitchen maids and the men think they know how to circumvent Tokgabi and spoil his tricks. Knowing that the imp does not like red, a young man when betrothed wears clothes of this bright color. Tokgabi is afraid of shining silver too. So the men fasten their top knots together and the girls keep their chignons in shape with silver hairpins. The magistrates and government officials have little storks made of solid silver in their hats, or else these birds are embroidered with silver thread on their dresses. Everyone who can afford them uses white metal dishes and dresses in snowy garments. Tokgabi likes nothing white, and that is the reason why every Korean likes to put on clothes that are as dazzling as frost. Tons and mountains of starch are consumed in blanching and stiffening coats and skirts, sleeves and stockings. On festival days, the people look as if they were dipped in starch and their garments encrusted in rock candy. In this manner, they protect themselves from the pranks of Tokgabi.